They've been there before. You've gone through your game as Survivor. You have done all generators. And you're feeling really good. The game is about to end. And all you need to do is open the exit gates. But the killer appears out of nowhere, hits you, and you're instantly downed. It is a feel bad moment. It really, really is. It's deflating. And yeah, it just feels bad. A lot of people think NOED, therefore, is a crutch for killer. They think that it is one of the most unfair perks in the game, if not the most unfair perk in the game. And there's many, many, many talks about it. Is it as bad as people think though? Today I want to look at two perks, not just NOED, but also Dead Hard. These two perks aren't very similar. They do things in totally different situations under totally different circumstances. But there is a correlation here that I think is actually really, really interesting. And I'll talk more in depth of it. Let's talk about the perks first of all, right? No One Escapes Death is a perk that can be used once per game. It's a perk that can be used only at the end when the game's already nearly over. When, as killer, you really do need a big buffing power to actually try and pull back some of what's gone wrong in the game. It's a perk that can be easily countered throughout the game by any survivor that wants to do totems, or especially a specialized survivor that has an anti-totem perk, such as small game. Yeah, I did say right. Therefore, NOED is extremely easy to counter. It's rare to come across. And most of all, and the big point here is that unless you're playing against a very, very potato survivor team that make bad decisions at the wrong times, if you're the killer with NOED, you're only going to be able to get one extra kill with that perk. That's just the way. That's just the way it goes, I'm afraid. NOED is only viable to get you one extra kill in the game, unless the surviving team really do mess up big time. Now, Dead Hard is a perk which is very, very common. Most survivors run it these days. It is the single most popular exhaustion perk out there, and it offers people the chance with a single press of a button to avoid the killer's attack and also gain a little bit of distance on them. Now, Dead Hard is a perk that is often given the argument, well, just bait Dead Hard out. Baiting Dead Hard out is when the killer doesn't swing straight away when the survivor is injured and they wait for Dead Hard to be used up, then hit them. That situation only occurs if the survivor is extremely outpositioned. Any semi-competent survivor will be running straight towards safety the moment you start heading towards them. So unless you have a stealth perk, you've got line of sight coverage, or you're a stealth killer with an ability that allows you to hide your terror radius, no survivor in their right mind is going to be just hanging back in a dead zone. They'll be running towards a pallet or a window already. So straight off the bat, the argument of, well, just bait it, can come in handy in very, very situational circumstances. 9 times out of 10, the survivor will not be in a dead zone. But that is a major, major point you need to remember. Now, with that being said, it means that Dead Hard is often used in locations which are safe for the survivor. So the survivor is able to usually run around a location very, very well. It means that the killer has to outperform a position, a maneuver that survivor to be able to get a hit on them. It means the killer is having to work a lot harder than that survivor is in that circumstance. So, the survivor runs around a few times. The killer does a mind game or something like that, finds a red stain, gets back, and they would have been able to get a hit in a situation where the survivor wasn't quite ready for it. In all circumstances, the killer deserves to get the hit, just as that video showed there. However, with a press of the E button, it didn't happen. Therefore, the survivor is getting a positive outcome from a negative situation. The same argument people make for NOED. The correlations there are very, very clear. And what's more clear is the fact that the surviving team are the ones that are numerically advantaged straight off the bat. They don't need quite as many buffs as killers do in terms of perks and stuff like that. They can cover for each other's mistakes very, very well. And they're able to use perks very, very often. Like Dead Hard, they can all stack Dead Hard and use them multiple times in the game. NOED, you cannot do that. You just cannot do that. Therefore, I feel that in terms of balance, in terms of percentage of use, I think that Dead Hard is a much less healthy perk to the game than NOED ever will be. NOED has many counters, and Dead Hard, for its primary counter that people make, doesn't come in use all that often. You can go to any game with the killer running NOED, and you can consistently stop that being used. All you have to do is take off one of your meta perks that you might be running, and stick on small game, stick on Detective's Hunch, stick on Counterforce, I believe is a new perk for Jill. All these perks take up one perk slot. On a side that, I might say biased here, but I do play more Survivor, for a side that doesn't require full allotment of meta perks for you to be powerful. You can feasibly take that off. And you can counter NOED every single game if you really wanted to. The problem is right now though with the game balance is that everyone is so determined to just do the very primary objectives and engage with nothing else in the game but that doing totems feels like a really big waste of time for people. It's not a video for it, but I feel like a very positive step forward for the game might be to try and encourage less focus on the very primary objective of the game and do more with something different. Allow for totems to have another impact, to have another use, to come in handy in a different way, to encourage people to potentially get rid of NOED. As you saw there again. Quite often, the killer doesn't get a hit that they deserve. Of course, they could have baited that in that situation, and they would have been fine. In situations like around that pallet there, if I was to run that around, there is no baiting. Dead Hard. Just not. It's an unfair perk in my eyes. With that being said, guys, this is my third time recording this video, and I feel like I've lost a few points that I made quite well last one. I'm going to leave it there because I feel like I'm just going to muddy my steps a little bit. With that being said, guys, all the best. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy Dead by Daylight where you can, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Always a pleasure.